The latest from the State House coming up, but first, President Biden speaks to the nation about the multiple objects shot down by the U.S. military in recent weeks, including that Chinese spy balloon that crossed the country for days. Jesse Turnur has more from Washington.
I gave the order to take down these three objects.
The commander-in-chief gave his first explanation to the American people Thursday about why the U.S. military recently shot down three unidentified objects.
We acted out of an abundance of caution.
President Joe Biden said the objects had the potential to disrupt civilian air travel and monitor sensitive facilities like military bases. But as crews continue to work to find what's left of the objects, President Biden said they were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation entities, or research facilities.
Nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country.
The president's remarks follow weeks of criticism from both parties that he didn't act fast enough to shoot down the Chinese spy balloon.
The Chinese Communist Party would have never allowed an American spy satellite to float across China.
Americans are worried, they're concerned, they're interested.
Arkansas Republican Tom Cotton wants harsher punishments against China, like banning TikTok in the U.S., along with certain investments in diplomats.
We have to reestablish fear in Beijing that America will stand up for our core national security interests.
And Virginia Democrat Mark Warner wants to improve the process around notifying and monitoring unidentified objects.
To improve not only our kind of surveillance, but also have better rules of the road.
And the president has directed his national security advisor to lead what he called an interagency team to review the U.S. procedures around tracking, monitoring, and potentially shooting down unidentified objects. In Washington, I'm Jesse Turnur.
Jesse, thanks. This week, we're also talking with Indiana Senator Todd Young about the ongoing threat of these high-altitude aerial objects, a topic I also discussed last week with Congressman Andre Carson, who's a member of the House Intelligence Committee.
Last year, I chaired the first open hearing in 50 years on unidentified aerial phenomena. So, I've been sounding the alarm.
Meantime, with the Senate getting briefed on the situation this past week, I spoke with Senator Young Thursday, just hours before the president finally addressed the nation to discuss the issue.
The president's been quiet for a number of days. We shot down 4 different unknown objects over the period of twice as many days, and the American people are wondering what the heck's going on. So I've tried to bring some clarity to this where I can, but the president needs to step up. We need to figure out how in the future we can not be surprised, and I'll work with the administration on that. But I think we have to be bold, we have to be strong, and shoot down anything that encroaches improperly on American airspace. So in this case, the president should have shot down that balloon over the Aleutian Islands, but he did not.
You think the spy balloon should have been shot down sooner? The president has said the military advised him not to because of its size and the danger it might pose below. If not the military, whose advice do you think he should have taken there?
Well, listen, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military. And it's not uncommon for our military leaders to provide ill-advised judgment. I mean, we are just emerging from a couple of forever wars. In retrospect, would we fight the forever wars over again as we look back in the last 20 years? Well, probably not. Certainly we wouldn't execute those conflicts in the way in which they were executed. It was our military leadership that led the charge there, and too many politicians just turned over the decision-making process to them. So I have not heard anything nor seen anything that would lead me to believe that it was proper to allow a Chinese balloon to navigate the farms, the businesses, the neighborhoods, and the military bases here in the continental United States, gathering imagery, gathering intel. It's a very bad precedent to set.
The administration has faced a lot of criticism over the spy balloon and also now on this train derailment in Ohio. You've generally had a good working relationship with the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, but he has faced some criticism this week over that situation there in Ohio. Is that criticism warranted in your view?
Listen, he's the leader of the Secretary of the Department of Transportation. They, of course, have oversight over our rail system. I know that he's been working with and attentive to the National Transportation Safety Board and their investigation here, but it's natural that the American people want to hear from him in light of his responsibilities. And it took a number of days before he tweeted about this matter, social media. So I think that's probably a fair criticism, but I do want to move forward as it relates to this horrible disaster and help out the affected people in Ohio however we can.